With the finale of Volume 4, I thought now would be a good time to do a video essay. I'm John Fox, and these are my thoughts on RWBY. I love this series, so perhaps there's a bit of a bias, but I don't think this series is without flaw. RWBY is a series that stems from ambition, and it's this ambition that I admire the most. Its inception comes from one guy and his love of anime and action movies. He built a portfolio of work that would lead him to create a worldwide phenomenon. Monty achieved what most of us can only dream of. I remember when I first started learning to draw, I would speak of how, one day, I would create my own anime. We as people strive for greatness.
But perhaps victory is in the simpler things that you've long forgotten. Things that require a smaller, more honest soul.
And this comes across in what might be the series' greatest strength. That signature, over-the-top action and spectacular choreography that really takes advantage of the fact that this is an animated series. The very first thing we see before the series even starts is a girl in a red hood wielding a mysterious weapon. A gun, maybe? And then this happens. Immediately followed by succeeded by a wonderful escalation of unreasonably awesome gun kata that can only be described as jaw-dropping. This would set the stage for a series that spans all of Remnant. And that brings me to the series' second strength, its world. I don't think anything will beat a sniper rifle scythe, but we quickly get introduced to the villains and supporting characters, and RWBY touts a cast of extremely colorful characters, no pun intended. The moment we see them and their first line gives an indication of what to expect.
Are you robbing me?
Yes.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, I can't believe my baby sister's going to Beacon with me. This is the best day ever!
What are you doing? Sorry. Sorry? Do you have any idea of the damage you could have caused?
Weiss Cheney, heirs to the Cheney Dust Company, one of the largest producers of energy propellant in the world.
Finally, some recognition.
This same company, infamous for its controversial labor forces and questionable business partners.
What?
You see this as every character gets introduced, and while it might be unreasonable to expect this of every character, the writers do manage to do it, filling the world with rich characters and concepts. The lore in RWBY runs deep, but here's where the series' weakness comes to light. While there is a great emphasis on introducing ideas, there isn't so much on building them. Much of the lore that isn't told in the moment is conveyed through long expository monologues in the episodes or in side episodes with the World of Remnant series. Supplementary material at best, details about the world feel almost disconnected from the characters living in it. The Four Maidens plotline was a big part of Volume 3. And while we see it affecting Pyrrha directly, barely anything with that plot actually involves the titular characters. They're all fighting their own battle, and the plots aren't so woven together as they are squashed and twisted together. Not so much a plot weave as a plot rope. But let's not make any accusations about bad writing. We see in Volume 4 following afterwards that, while the four girls are now separated, there's an attempt at actually weaving a plot together. Volume 4 cuts almost schizophrenically between all of the stories, but does so in a way as to not feel dull, moving from the climax of one moment before cutting to the next character to let their story develop and build their character. From Volume 1, we see the characters learning to be a team and building from each other. We see them open up to each other in order to become even stronger. All the main girls start with the "I can do it on my own" attitude, each with their own nuance, but grow to learn to work together. In Volume 4, we see that challenged, as the girls are all separated and are given a chance to grow as individuals and reflect on what they learned in their time together. and while character development is slow, it gives us a chance to delve deeper into each character. But that's a whole other video. Continuing the topic of development from Volume 1 to 4, I wanted to take a quick look at the quality of animation. Volume 1 had a kind of dull, flat look, obviously an attempt to emulate a more anime style. In Volume 4, past the Monty era, we see a pretty vast improvement in graphical fidelity, more saturated colors, and a brighter world in general, while maintaining that somewhat bleak but fantastical aesthetic we were so drawn to before. We see a greater focus on details, with a complete overhaul of each character's model, and far more detailed environments. But this world is nothing without the characters animating through it. Going back to my earlier point, how do you do something more spectacular than one girl slicing up a bunch of wolves? How about 4 girls slicing up a giant monster? The climax of the Team RWBY story halfway through Volume 1 culminates in a gigantic action sequence, fighting on a huge ruin by a cliffside, facing a monster that by all rights should be able to defeat the girls with its stare alone.
Of course you would come up with this idea.
Think you can make the shot?
Can I? Of course I can!
But we see what happens when they work together. The fight sequence syncing up with the music, the scythe ripping through the Nevermore's head as the soundtrack comes to a crescendo.
Wow.
There have certainly been fights that involve more characters, bigger explosions, more particle effects, but that's all dressing to make a fight sequence look better. We aren't missing the amazing choreography that made the first volume so great. It really can only be improved with more set dressing. But I would argue that there hasn't been another fight in this series that felt as climactic as the Nevermore fight. RWBY has been developing wonderfully as a series. Great character development, great technical development, great story development. But this brings me to my final point of criticism. While every character and piece of lore has a good introduction, the same can't be said for tying up plot points. Every volume and every episode is full of cliffhangers and loose ends that take forever to conclude, if they're even ever addressed again.
You have silver eyes.
One of the very first major plot points. A mention in passing that is never addressed again until the end of Volume 3. I cannot count the number of unconcluded plot points. Maybe that's another video. But this is the series' greatest weakness. A long-running plot with no big payoff for each individual volume's arc. But this has never really been RWBY's focus. I can't speak for everyone, but I watch it for the wonderful characters and spectacular fights, and RWBY continues to deliver. RWBY as a series stands as a testament to what can be done with a little ambition. Not just the ambition of the characters in the story, but of the people writing the story. What started as a little pet project became something that has touched the hearts of people around the world, and reminds us So here's looking forward to Volume 5. Thanks for watching everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of video, if you'd like to see more video essays, different, more nuanced topics, or if you just want to bash me and demand everything wrong with Volume 4. By the way, I'm not making a CinemaSins for Volume 4. I have a video tutorial up about how to make a video like that on my channel, which you can see by clicking here. I'm sure one of you can make a better Sins video than me, with fewer mistakes and more petty criticism for all to enjoy.